Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Barack Shaman, and today we're going to be talking about a 7.1 patch guide for the Elemental Shaman. So there's a lot of information that I'm going to be covering, so I'm going to split things up into two separate videos. One being this guide, which covers a lot of the information, all the changes, all the questions that need to be asked, and rotations and stuff like that. And this video and your burst guide for 7.1 is going to be in another video, so you guys can check that out in the video's description down below. So we're going to get started here with the buffs and changes that Blizzard announced recently with the new patch 7.1. Earth shock damage is increased by 15%. This is actually a nice buff and a buff that we needed, because Earth Shock has been a little lackluster for our finishing move for quite some time now. If it didn't crit, it was doing just a little bit more damage than your Lava Burst. So yes, much needed buff. I'm able to do over 1 million crits with Earth Shock now, so this is nice. Nice little change, and this is going to raise some questions into our talent choices. But I'll discuss that in a bit in this video, but right now we're covering the buffs. Frost shock damage is increased by 15%. This is nice for that PvP trait that we like to use so much, Ice Fury, and I'm going to be covering Ice Fury in another part of this video as well, but we're just going over the buffs like I said. Stormkeeper now also makes the effective lightning bolts and chain lightning instant cast, and it has a 1.5 second cast time. So this change kind of deals with our opening sequence, as well as a really nice buff to our ramp up time on our AoE, and the amount of damage that we can just output instantly is really nice. Really nice. So I love this change. A lot of people are saying that it's kind of clunky and they're not used to it. It's just like it's a little weird, but give it some time. It'll make things a lot more simpler with days to come, and I like the changes. I like the changes so far. I'm excited. So let's get on to our second portion of the video. Talking about spell changes and things that were kind of hidden behind the scenes that Blizzard still did, but they didn't really say that they were doing. So our friends at the PTR and the Earth Enshrined Shaman Discord kind of brought these things to light. So now I'm going to discuss them in this video. So I give the credit to them for finding this information. You guys are awesome. Earthquake is no longer a totem. It's just Earthquake. So this means a couple of things. It means that it's no longer a totem. That's one. Two, it's doing spell damage now instead of pet damage, because totems as a shaman class were considered as pets. Now this is actually a pretty nice buff to us, and I'll tell you why. Pet damage does not coexist with spell damage when it comes to activated abilities and traits on your character that will activate off of spell damage. Talking about trinkets here, food buffs, aka your fishbowl special, which would activate off spell damage. As well as your Mark of the Hidden Satire neck enchant, which activated off of spell damage or attack damage, whatever it was. My point is that pets don't activate these abilities, spells and attacks do. So this is a nice change, because every tick of Earthquake on every single target now has a chance to proc those abilities. Your Fishbowl Special, your Neuraxis Spike Tongue, your Okart's Gnarled Root, your Devilosaur Shock Baton, your Swarming Plague Hive, your Mark of the Hidden Satire, all that stuff is now completely relevant to your Earthquake damage, which is insane. I think that's amazing. And I think it's really funny to see all of this shit coming out of my character because I put an Earthquake down. Just all these spell effects just shooting out of my character when I'm not even casting. It's amazing. I love it. So I wanted to mention that in this video. It's actually a really nice buff. and a lot of people don't realize the significance of that change. So, speaking of Earthquake, now we're going to go over something that Blizzard kind of did a silly on. They did a silly. Are the Ground Trembles trait on our artifact weapon still says increases the damage dealt by Earthquake Totem by 15%. We no longer have this spell. We no longer have Earthquake Totem. So, we're not receiving this 15% increase for our traits. This is going to get fixed. I'm sure Blizzard is going to know about this within the next couple of days. So when this gets fixed, I'm going to put an annotation above saying that it's been fixed, so you don't need to worry about it in this video. But I just wanted to shed some light on this. Blizzard, if you are watching this, please fix this. We're missing out on 15% damage on our Earthquake. So yes. Now let's talk about your Greater Lightning Elemental that you summon when you activate Stormkeeper. This little guy now scales off haste, which means he can get in an extra 1 to 2 casts. Now really that's not a lot of damage because the guy doesn't really hit for much, but it's something that I wanted to add in the video because we're talking about hidden changes to the Shaman that weren't announced but have still been found out. So that's happened. Now we're going to talk about buffs and what they mean with your talents. So because of the buffs that we received for both Frost Shock and Earth Shock, I did some testing. And I wanted to find out if Ice Fury and Aftershock were viable, if they were a good pick, if they were suitable, if the rotation was fun and exciting and cool and stuff. And like, I found out that the Ice Fury rotation honestly is a lot of fun. I enjoy it. You're paying attention to a lot more things. It's very min-maxy, it feels very challenging, as opposed to you just spamming your lightning bolts and getting those lava bursts off, I guess. You have to pay attention a lot more, and I think that's really fun and really cool. But the downside is that it's not performing still as well as Primal Elementalist. But I think that it's worth dabbing into to figure out the rotation, to have that knowledge in your head, so that when and if Ice Fury becomes viable or pulls ahead of Primal Elementalist, you're ahead of the curve. You're one step ahead of everyone else. You know the rotation. You're not blindsided by something that's going to put you behind, and now you have to figure out this whole thing in order to be viable for your raid that night. So take the time, honestly, to figure that out. And moving on to our next talent that we're going to talk about, Aftershock. And these two actually correlate together pretty nicely. If you don't use Aftershock while using Ice Fury, it becomes a lot more challenging to use the rotation. Yes, you still get those burst situations from Elemental Mastery, but Ice Fury is all about fast Maelstrom generation. You have to build as much Maelstrom as fast as possible in order for you to deal a lot of damage and sustain a lot of damage. So Aftershock helps out with that quite a bit. And we're going to talk about the Earth Shock buff now and what that correlates to Aftershock. Because of the 15% buff to Earth Shock, I did some testing and I did some theory crafting and all that stuff. And I found out that Aftershock is only 5k on average less DPS than Elemental Mastery. So, we're casting more Earth Shocks more often. Which is nice, because if you think about it, if you have the shoulders and not the boots, this could be the better choice of a talent for you, because you're getting more earthquakes out. You're getting more chances for you to proc your earthquakes, which is essentially makes up for that 5k difference between Elemental Mastery and Aftershock. You want to think about that. There's a lot of changes that need to be thought about, and that's why I'm putting this information in this video. But another thing to keep into consideration is that if you have the shoulders and the boots, or just the boots, Aftershock isn't worth it, unfortunately. If your Earthshock procs from your boots and resets all of its Maelstrom, Aftershock is wasted. So there's no real point in going into this talent if you have the boots. And I've talked to some people that have the boots, and they say that it procs often enough for it to matter if you went into Aftershock. It would be a wasted talent. So if you don't have the boots, but you have, sorry, I hit the mic, but you have the shoulders, I think it's definitely worth testing out Aftershock. Try and get more Earthquakes out. Test it out. I don't have that ability myself because I don't have the shoulders. I wish I had them, but some of you guys may, and you guys can benefit from that. So moving on to what the rotation and kind of like play style would be for your Ice Fury. Like I said before, it's a lot of Maelstrom generation, but your priority, because it's Maelstrom generation, your priority is going to be Lava Burst above Ice Fury, as well as Stormkeeper above Ice Fury. Because before you put those Ice Furies out, you want to have a decent amount of Maelstrom. But if you're rolling Aftershock, that doesn't really matter as much. This is more correlating to Elemental Mastery. But it's a lot more crazy of a rotation if you're just using Ice Fury and Elemental Mastery. But I wouldn't recommend using Aftershock and Ice Fury if you had the boots, like I said. So, that aside, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Ice Fury there. Moving on to what your best in slot legendaries are still. We already talked about legendaries a bit, but I still wanted to say that your best in slots for single target, boss damages, and whatnot is still your boots and your shoulders. For Mythic Pluses, I would recommend using your Alakair's Acrimony. The bracers are very, very nice, as well as Siyufu's Secret. Now, there was actually a change with Siyufu's Secret that kind of nerfed it a little bit to some CCs that would not activate the buff that it gives you. So we're still figuring out, and by we're, I'm talking about everyone on the Discord, the Elemental Shaman Discord. We're still figuring out if Earthquake still buffs that or not. The information is still up in the air. We're gonna get that sorted out. But for Mythic Pluses, I recommend using Alakair's Acrimony and Siyufu's Secret because of the Earthquake knockdown, activating the buff that the ring gives you. Holy shit. Okay. Now the legendaries are out of the picture, and we're going to talk about other things. Trinket buffs and the information that I will be providing with that. There has been some trinket changes some trinket changes in the patch. One being the Bow of Corruption received a buff, but currently there's not enough information on this, so we're still figuring out if it is above anything else. It looks like it's not, but that was worth stating in the video. Your trinkets that you want and still like kind of want to go after are still your Noraxis Spike Tongue, still your Swarming Plague Hive, your Arcano Crystal, that off of Withered Gem. This is your best in slot trinket based on what the information that we have right now is. When more information comes out on trinkets, I will release a separate video talking about trinkets alone and stating which is best in which situation, what boss fights, and a whole bunch of more information that you guys want, because I get a lot of whispers asking about what trinkets they should use. So I just want to get that video out there eventually, sometime soon. Yes. So Arcano Crystal, your Devilosaur Shock Baton, and your Oakheart's Gnarled Root. Those are your best 5 trinkets right now. If you have them and you're not using them, use them. They're very, very good. So let's talk about your kind of buffs that you will still be using. And we're not, in this section of the video, we're not going to be talking about the buffs that we received from Blizzard in the patch, but the food buff, your potions that you want to use, your enchants and stuff like that. So your food buff, if you're not a panda, is still going to be Fishbowl Special. Even though it received a slight nerf, it is still your best food if you're not a panda. Now, talking about pandas now, even though I hate them. If you're a panda, you receive double food buff. That being said, the Hungry Magister Delicacy food, which gives you 375 critical strike for 1 hour, that's the food buff that you want to go after if you're a panda. Your Mark of the Hidden Satyr, I don't even know how to say it. Your Mark of the Hidden Satyr is still your best neck enchant. Mark of the Claw is still not as good as it, so covering that. Your potions. So there was a new potion that was released with the patch called Potion of Prolonged Power, the PP. This one gives you quite a bit of intellect. And a lot of people are saying that it scales better with your elemental. So, because your fire elemental scales off intellect, which is nice, right? So, there's that tip to put in there, but according to Sims and according to logs and according to the Discord, apparently a Potion of Prolonged Power is still performing 5k less than your Potion of Deadly Grace. Even though Potion of Prolonged Power is like very cheap, if you want to min-max and you have a shit ton of money, there's no real reason why you shouldn't be using Potion of Deadly Grace. Just because it's performing just a little bit more better. A little bit more better. Better than Potion of Prolonged Power. So I wanted to cover that as well. Alright. Talking about one last thing here. Earthbind Totem is now back. Earthbind Totem used to be an aura that we received from... Well, we didn't receive it. But it was an aura that when Earthgrab Totem was used, it would... Like, Earthbind Totem would activate on them and slow them after the root was done. So now that we have this totem back, I don't see any point in actually using Earthgrab Totem, because if we can get an AoE stun and a slow, I think it's just more beneficial to use both separate totems in most situations than Earthgrab. So I wanted to add that in there, that Earthgrab Totem is now back and kicking. So yeah, this will conclude my patch guide for 7.1. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can catch me live on my Twitch channel, and I'll put that down in the description below. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, like me on Facebook, all that fun stuff. Anyway, I hope to see you guys in game, and if you have any questions, you can whisper me, Barack or Shama, on the Realm of Sargeras. You guys take it easy. I'll see you online. Take care.